Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. We're going to do another Daryl Dixon video today. Well, it seems that we didn't get the early release of the episode. It's going to premiere along with the live premiere there on AMC, along with AMC Plus. And I don't know if that's supposed to be the trend, because the whole point, to my understanding, is AMC Plus. You're supposed to have access to these things early. So I imagine after this first episode, we'll start to get those episodes on Thursdays and stuff. I haven't read into it or anything, but to kind of get us by, they did release another teaser kind of character introduction video, and we got to see some new footage. We got to see a little bit of what I would say just introduction of new characters, or just a little bit more depth into these characters that we haven't seen before. And so I kind of wanted to break that down and kind of go through it, because it is really hyping me up for the show, to be honest. Because yes, I was excited to watch it, and I wanted to watch it, and because I love the character of Daryl, I love Norman Reedus and the things that he's done with this character over the last 13 years, which is hard to believe on its own, that it's been 13 years of Walking Dead content. But kind of getting into this teaser that they gave us, we see some of the same footage that we've seen in the other teasers and the full trailer that we got and the first 10 minutes that we got. But we did see some other stuff which I was really excited about, and one of the bigger things that I'm really excited about, it's kind of granting my wish, is we're going to see flashbacks of the fall of France. We're going to see how things went to shit, and how Isabel is going to kind of build around her character and see who she was, what she did and everything, how she reacted to the end of the world, and just seeing how Paris and France as a whole fell apart at the end of the world during the apocalypse, and how they dealt with it. I'm sure we'll see some variants and everything, so I'm really excited about that. And kind of going through that video, Greg Nicotero kind of kicks it in that direction too, of variants, especially by saying they're kicking it off with some new jeopardy that Daryl and the rest of the characters are not going to be familiar with. So that kind of points it right in the direction. We're going to see variants, and probably a few different kinds, because they've already confirmed that we're going to have burners, and we're going to have probably more aggressive ones, the smarter ones that can climb, pick up things, and I hear anyways that we're going to see some runners too. So it's going to be a completely fresh take on everything that we're used to in the Walking Dead world. And one of the big things that I'm excited about within this new footage that we got shots of France and the different spots they're using for this show that we would not normally see here in the States and everything. So it's going to be a whole new show as far as seeing all these different locations that we don't have over here, as far as castles, and Norman Reedus mentioned catacombs, and the Eiffel Tower alone, just seeing that. And we get this shot of Isabel. It's a flashback where she is within the streets of Paris and everything. We got this big shot, Eiffel Tower. So I'm excited to see everything fall apart. It's one of the things that really draws me in with this show and any apocalyptic type show. I like to see the fall of how things just go to hell and how people deal with it, and just the chaos. That's something I'm really excited about. Is just see the chaos of the world falling apart from a different perspective, because we've seen it a few different ways within just the regular Walking Dead shows. Now we're going to get this one, and it's already getting great reviews. People are just kind of saying how it's just, to say again, a fresh take. We're not seeing the same old thing, the same old characters go through the same things within the States. We're seeing different aspects, different parts of the world react to it and how they dealt with it. And kind of one of the other big things that I noticed that I really liked about it, we got more context on who these nuns were, who this convent is, and more or less we can see that these nuns are not to be fucked with. We've seen this armory that they have, and from what I'm gathering from the footage that we got the new character of Sylvie. We got a little bit more background on her. She is another one of those fellow nuns of Isabel, and kind of goes on this journey with Daryl to take this kid up north of France and everything to deliver him where he needs to be. But we see kind of a little bit of Sylvie. She is another nun, not unlike Isabel, that you don't mess with. And from what I gathered from the footage that we got, Condron, we see that he's going to be probably one of the bigger villains, but we didn't really see more on the woman that's been kind of leading him. We see in the other trailers and teasers and everything. But we see that these nuns are not afraid of them. They go after them. They kill some of his men or any kind of invaders or anything like that. So it's really exciting to see that it's not going to be some typical kind of thing where these guys can just roam in and do what they want. these nuns fight back, which is pretty cool to see. And we see some fight scenes between Daryl and Cadron, and where that goes, and just little different shots of walkers and everything, which I was really excited about, because a couple of them look kind of twitchy, honestly. It looked like what you would see, again, kind of comparing The Last of Us, seeing these twitchy type walkers that are just kind of flipping all over the place and everything. It looks a lot like what you'd see in the first few stages of Infected from The Last of Us. And, you know, that's the big thing, too. This show is being compared to The Last of Us just based on the story and everything. And I did a video on that, and I'll put that down in the description. But we're getting this new show and these new characters and this new area that we haven't seen. So I'm really, really excited to see how it all unfolds on the other side of the world and see how they deal with it, and seeing these characters that start off as one thing and then become something completely different, and kind of seeing the direction that they're going to go. It's going to kind of see Daryl get into the situation he does with that burner walker, first landing in France and everything, and getting rescued by these nuns, because we see the scene where they're burning the spot that he was burned by the burner walker with a hot poker. What that all means, and if that's some sort of treatment that they're aware of for these particular walkers. Maybe there's more of them than I realized, because I'm kind of thinking that at first maybe these burner walkers, there was only a small faction of them or whatever in a particular area that's turned into these types due to something within that area, but they might be further spread than I realized. And so this is kind of their way of treating that. We don't know anything about what happens if you're touched or burned or whatever by these guys, other than you are burned, or can it spread some sort of infection itself, and that's their way of treating it. But we see a little bit more footage, a little bit more context as far as when he gets to this convent and everything, kind of collecting his thoughts and pulling himself back together from whatever other things that he got into, was that they come to him with the whole prospect of taking Laurent and taking him where he needs to be. And we see that probably at some point, because we see the fight scenes with the nuns and with those guys coming in, and a lot of them look like they're carrying muskets, which is kind of funny. We can only assume that this convent gets overrun, because there's been other scenes that they've released showing kind of the convent in ruins or it on fire in the background, and Daryl leading this handful of survivors. So it looks like a lot of these nuns don't make it out of this, but we'll get Sylvie, we'll get Isabelle and Laurent going out on this mission, and he is very reluctant to take the mission from what we see in this this behind the scenes preview that we got. And so we can see that he's reluctant to take the mission, but naturally Daryl, being the guy he is, he takes it. He wants to help these people get to safety and get this kid where he needs to be. And maybe he has some sort of belief, like they do, that he is important somehow. We don't know how yet. We don't know if he's immune, or he's just maybe related, or has something to do with the scientists or anything like that. He could simply be a brilliant child, a genius child that can figure this virus out, the end of the world. Or my big theory is that he's a test tube baby. He was engineered, his DNA is somehow altered or different, or reacts differently to the virus that's out in the world. But that may be a big stretch. I mean, that may be like just too much, honestly. They might not take it that deep. He could just be simply somehow immune, or who knows what they're going to take and make his story or whatever. But anyways, we didn't get the premiere episode early like we hoped, but we will see it this Sunday. So this is kind of a hype up for that, because I'm really excited to see this show and what they're going to do with it. Because again, like they said, reviews are looking good, so I'm excited for it. Can't wait for it. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, you enjoy my type of content, please check out my other stuff, leave likes, leave comments, and if you feel so inclined, subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. So until next time, guys, I'll catch you later. Bye.